Stop for a second and feel this. Not with your mind, with your chest, with that strange pull you have been trying to explain away. Because something is happening behind the silence, and it is not small. While you are wondering if they still think about you, they are standing in a private storm they can no longer escape. They have tried to bury it. They have tried to stay busy, stay distant, stay logical. But some connections do not fade just because someone avoids them. Some bonds grow louder in the quiet. And right now, whether they admit it or not, your absence is forcing them to face what your presence truly meant. This is not just about missing you. It is about what changed inside them because of you. Stay with me, because what they are realizing now may shape everything that happens next, and the truth is closer than it has ever been. There comes a moment in every deep connection when silence stops being peaceful and starts becoming revealing. That is where they are now. What you have been sensing is not fantasy. It is not wishful thinking. It is the pressure of another person trying to make sense of feelings that no longer fit inside the old story they told themselves. Deep in the parts of them they usually ignore, a serious decision is taking form. They have spent so much time trying to distract themselves, trying to explain away the intensity, trying to believe distance would weaken the bond. But the harder they tried to push it down, the more it pushed back. That is because what happened between you was never shallow. It touched something deeper than attraction. It reached into old wounds, hidden hopes, and the part of them that still wanted something real. Now they are reviewing everything, not just what you meant to them, but who they became around you. And that question is heavier than they expected, because if they answer it honestly, they cannot keep pretending nothing changed. Watch closely. When someone reaches this point, their energy shifts before their words do. Their mind becomes restless, their silence becomes louder, their usual mask starts slipping. And if you have noticed that strange tension lately, that is why. You need to understand something important. The choice they are wrestling with is not simply whether to come closer or walk away. It is whether they are ready to face themselves without excuses. One part of them wants you with a force that feels natural, almost undeniable. Your absence feels like a missing piece in their emotional world. But another part of them resists with everything it has, because being honest about this connection would require openness, courage, and change. And change, even beautiful change, can feel terrifying. That is why the push and pull has been so intense. One day they seem full of feeling, the next day they shut down. One moment, they move inward, the next they pull away. It may have looked confusing from the outside, but inside them it has felt like a war. They want the connection, but they fear the cost of surrendering to it. Keep listening, because this is where most people misunderstand what is happening. Their inconsistency is not always proof of a lack of feeling. Sometimes it is proof of feeling that has become too strong to ignore and too frightening to trust. When the heart and fear collide this hard, the person caught between them rarely stays calm. They become distant, restless, overthinking, and emotionally split. That is the storm you have been sensing. Right now they are being pulled into a level of reflection they tried to avoid for a long time. Memories are returning with a sharper edge. Small moments they once brushed off now feel loaded. Conversations they thought were finished are replaying in their head with new meaning. The way you looked at them, the way they felt safe and exposed at the same time, the way your connection seemed to touch something more honest in them than most people ever could. They are beginning to see that this was not random. You were not just another phase, not just another passing person, not just another emotional distraction. You became a mirror, and mirrors are hard to face when someone has spent years avoiding their own truth. That is why this process feels so intense. They are not only missing you, they are confronting the version of themselves that came alive with you. A version that felt more awake, more open, more real. That contrast is now impossible for them to unsee. And once that happens, denial loses power. Let that sink in. They are not simply comparing you to other people. They are comparing how life feels without you to how it felt when the connection was alive. That difference is speaking louder every day. And if this message is hitting your spirit, stay with it, because the deeper truth is still unfolding. Your distance has played a bigger role in this than you may realize. By stepping back, you removed the noise. You removed the comfort of easy access. You removed the chance for them to keep leaning on your energy while avoiding responsibility for their own feelings. And in that silence, something changed. Without your steady presence, they were left alone with the emptiness they had been trying not to name. That emptiness has become a teacher. It has shown them what was real by showing them what is missing. In the quiet hours, in the middle of routines that should feel normal, your absence keeps appearing like a shadow they cannot outrun. They find themselves measuring others against what they felt with you, and the comparison keeps failing. Not because nobody else has value, but because what existed here touched a rare depth. The truth is simple. Some people only understand the weight of a bond when they are forced to feel the space it leaves behind, and that is what is happening now. The distance has stripped away convenience. It has exposed meaning. It has taken the story out of fantasy and placed it in reality. They can no longer call it minor. They can no longer say it was nothing. They can no longer pretend they are untouched. If you have been wondering whether your absence mattered, this is your answer. It mattered more than words can easily explain. Sometimes silence does what conversation never could. It reveals the full shape of the truth. Inside them, fear and desire are no longer taking turns. They are colliding at the same time, and that creates enormous pressure. On one side, there is a pull toward you that feels warm, magnetic, almost like home. It is not shallow. It is not passing. It is rooted in the emotional imprint you left behind. On the other side, there is an old protective voice built from hurt, disappointment, and survival. That voice keeps warning them not to risk too much, not to trust too fast, not to open a door they may not know how to close. Both sides feel real to them. That is what makes this so exhausting. Desire feels true, fear feels necessary, so they stay stuck in the middle, hoping time will make the decision for them. But time is no longer doing that. Time is now increasing the pressure. The longer they remain suspended, the more draining it becomes. That is why they may seem more tense, more distracted, more emotionally charged lately. They are reaching the edge of what their inner world can hold. And when a person reaches that edge, something has to give. Either fear takes control and freezes everything, or truth becomes stronger than self-protection. Listen carefully. This part matters. They are not just deciding about a relationship. They are deciding what kind of person they want to be moving forward. Someone who hides from what they feel, or someone who finally dares to face it. That is why this moment feels so serious. There is also a quiet clarity rising in them now. Slow at first, then undeniable. It does not come like a dramatic explosion every time. Sometimes it arrives in small private moments, a random memory, a sleepless night, a sudden pause in the middle of a busy day, a wave of emotion they did not invite. These moments are connecting into a pattern, and they are starting to see it. Their mind keeps circling back to you without effort. Your presence remains alive in their emotional world, even when you are not physically there, and no distraction has been strong enough to erase that. This realization is changing them from the inside. They are starting to understand that what they feel is not a passing impulse. It has roots, it has weight, it has consequence. That awareness is powerful, because once someone admits that a connection is real, they can no longer comfortably live as if it is irrelevant. That is when the old middle ground begins to collapse. Neither fully committed nor fully gone is a painful place to live. It drains the spirit, it empties the mind, it creates an endless loop of almost, and they are getting tired of almost, very tired. If you have felt like a final turn is approaching, you are not imagining it. There is a point where uncertainty becomes heavier than truth, and they are moving toward that point now. Stay with me, because once a person reaches this level of honesty, their next move often comes after a long silence and a sudden decision. What is surfacing now will expose their true feelings more clearly than anything before it. For a long time they managed emotion through distance, logic and control. They told themselves stories that helped them keep everything contained. Maybe they minimized the bond. Maybe they focused on timing. Maybe they hid behind pride, confusion, or fear. But when a feeling is rooted deep enough, the mind cannot manage it forever. Eventually the truth rises through every defense. That is what is happening now. They are seeing the painful gap between what they feel and how they have behaved. The times they wanted to speak and stayed quiet. The moments they wanted closeness and chose distance. The places where fear made decisions their heart did not agree with. This is uncomfortable, but it is necessary, because real clarity is not soft. It is confronting. It forces a person to see where they betrayed their own truth in the name of safety. And once that realization lands, excuses start losing their power. They can no longer hide behind "I do not know." They know more than they want to admit. The question now is whether they are willing to act on what they know. And that is where the tension becomes almost unbearable. When a person can no longer deny their feelings, every delay begins to feel like self-betrayal. Every silent day grows heavier. Every avoided step becomes harder to justify. That is why the energy around this connection feels like it is building. It is. They are also beginning to understand that what they miss is not only you, it is the version of themselves that existed around you, more alive, more honest, more emotionally open, more connected to something meaningful. That realization cuts deep, because it shows them that their distance did not only create separation from you, it created separation from parts of themselves they actually needed. The life they built to feel safe may now be starting to feel empty instead. Familiar, yes. Controlled, yes, but emotionally smaller. And once a person sees that the life protecting them is also limiting them, their priorities start to shift. The things that once seemed so important begin to look hollow. Image, pride, the need to appear unaffected, the comfort of emotional walls, all of it starts losing its shine when compared to the depth of something real. This is often the stage where empathy begins growing too. They start realizing what their withdrawal may have done to the bond. They start feeling the weight you may have carried in silence. They begin to see that this connection is not just something that happened to them. It is something they are responsible for too. That is growth, real growth. And growth changes the quality of a decision. A person who once acted from fear begins, slowly, to act from awareness. A person who once reacted begins to choose. That shift matters. It means whatever comes next is less likely to be random and more likely to come from a place of truth. As this inner process deepens, hesitation starts burning away. The old maybe later energy cannot survive forever under this much emotional light. They are beginning to feel that time is not unlimited, that life cannot be spent in paralysis, that some truths do not wait politely while someone stays afraid forever. This brings a new kind of urgency. Not panic, not chaos. Something quieter, stronger, a knowing, a sense that something must be faced soon. Words that were held back for too long begin pressing toward the surface. Actions that once felt impossible begin looking necessary. That is why the atmosphere around them may feel different now. Less scattered, more intense, more final. They are reaching the point where even if the outcome still feels uncertain, the avoidance itself no longer feels sustainable. And that changes everything, because when avoidance becomes more painful than honesty, movement begins. Maybe slowly, maybe awkwardly, maybe after one last round of silence. But it begins. If this resonates, do not look away now. This is the part many people miss. Before a major choice becomes visible on the outside, it becomes unavoidable on the inside. That unavoidable feeling is building in them now. You may not hear it yet. You may not see the full shape of it yet. But beneath the surface, a line is being crossed. And once it is crossed, there is no easy return to emotional sleep. They have seen too much. They have felt too much. They have changed too much. Still, it is important to hold the deeper truth with steady hands. If they choose to move toward you, it will not be because it is easy. It will be because they finally recognized the value of what was shared and found the courage to meet it honestly. And if they do not, that will not erase your worth. It will only mean they were not ready to become the person this kind of love required them to be. Read that again with your heart. Another person's fear is not proof that you were not enough. Sometimes the connection is real, but the transformation it asks for feels too costly to someone still attached to old defenses. That is why your task is not to force, chase, or control the outcome. Your task is to stay rooted in your own truth, while their inner world arrives at theirs. Let the pressure reveal who they are. Let the silence show what words have hidden. Let time do what pressure always does. It exposes structure, and the structure now being exposed inside them is their genuine nature, not the performance, not the fear-driven version, not the ego, the real one. This is why patience matters here, though I know patience can feel brutal when the heart is involved. But there are moments when the most powerful thing you can do is step back and allow reality to speak for itself. And reality is speaking very loudly to them now, even if they have not yet learned how to say it out loud. The final part of this journey is not loud on the outside. It is almost sacred in its quietness. The frantic energy of confusion begins giving way to a more grounded kind of truth. The storm does not always end with drama. Sometimes it ends with stillness. A person stops arguing with what they feel, stops running from the mirror, stops making excuses for why something meaningful should be treated like it was ordinary. And in that stillness, a path appears, not always easy, not always painless, but clear. They begin to understand that fear may remain, but fear no longer deserves to lead. They see that courage is not the absence of trembling, it is the decision to move while trembling. That may be the exact place they are entering now, a quieter mind, a heavier honesty, a readiness that did not exist before. And when someone reaches this point, the question usually stops being "do I feel it?" and becomes "what am I going to do about it?" That is the shift. That is the threshold. That is the moment where the heart becomes too loud to be edited. So if you have felt that something is about to break open, trust what you have been sensing. The silence has not been empty. It has been active. It has been shaping a truth they can no longer comfortably deny. And whether they step forward soon or take one last trembling pause, the direction inside them is changing. Fast. More than they want to admit. More than they can now stop. So breathe. Do not shrink yourself to make someone else's awakening easier. Do not chase clarity that is already on its way. Do not confuse delay with absence of feeling. Some truths ripen in private before they can survive in daylight. What matters now is that the illusion is breaking. They are separating real feeling from fear, real longing from noise, real desire from defensive habit. Layer by layer, the core is being exposed. And once a person sees that core, they cannot truly unsee it. They may still need a little time. They may still wrestle with the final step. But the old confusion is weakening. The old story is collapsing. The truth is standing in the center now, asking for an answer. And answers always come when the heart gets tired of being ignored. If you made it this far, you already know this message found you for a reason. Keep your energy clean. Keep your heart steady. Let their process reveal their character. Let their decision reveal their level of courage. And remember this above all, what is real does not need to be forced to become meaningful. It already is. The only remaining question is who will be brave enough to honor it. And somewhere, in a silence you cannot fully see yet, that question is becoming impossible for them to avoid.